Oh man, eat, pray, freaking love.
Wait, hold on. Are we starting?
Yeah, let's start.
Welcome
No,
back to a new episode of the You're Not Wrong podcast, a podcast where a Gen Xer and a millennial talk about culture back then, culture right now, and mostly agree to disagree.
Yeah.
I'm bringing it back for this one.
I think so too.
Because I think this one's going to be...
Disagree?
I think so.
What will we have to disagree about?
I guess we'll find out. My name's Elizabeth. I'm the millennial.
I'm Nicole and I'm a Gen Xer.
And today is a Gen X...
It's a Gen X file.
It's a Gen X file.
Remember the music we
I
had?
do remember.
We should add
we
that.
can see if I can add that.
I hope you do.
We'll see.
Elizabeth.
Nicole.
Have you ever traveled solo?
I have. You know this. You know this about me?
They don't know. Where'd you go?
I went to Costa Rica.
Was that your first solo trip?
Outside the country, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And when'd you go?
I went to Costa Rica in, I believe the year was 2023. Yeah, I think it was
2023?
23, maybe 22.
Okay, so you know I went to Costa Rica
22.
last year.
It was 22.
I went to Costa Rica by myself last year.
I know,
too.
yes.
Yeah, you do know that.
Yeah. we are friends.
We are friends. We do talk about these things. Yeah, it's interesting. Do you know, well, guess what? You're not alone.
In going to Costa Rica by myself,
In
I know.
traveling by yourself.
Yes.
So,
I
like,
do know that.
do you know that 84% of solo travel is done by women?
Not surprising to me.
I thought that was crazy.
I actually don't think that's crazy at all, but I'll let you keep cooking.
So anyway, that figure is out there. And the reason why I'm talking about or bringing this all up is because I wanted us to talk about eat, pray, love.
The live, laugh, learn.
Live, laugh, libre, love.
Of travel.
Of travel, literature, and media.
Okay.
So Eat, Pray, Love came out, the movie.
May I just say,
What?
before you begin?
Yeah.
You told me that you wanted to do Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
And I got really excited because
Why?
tomorrow,
Uh-huh.
literally, from the day we were recording this,
Okay.
I will be at an Eat, Pray, Love night
Wow.
where me and my friends will be watching the movie and very likely booking travel.
Are you serious? You guys are going to like do it that night?
Yeah, because
That's the point
there's
of
like
the
a
party?
trip we've been talking about going
Okay.
on. So I was like, if we're doing Eat, Pray, Love, I'm getting these
But what
bitches
is
drunk.
an Eat, Pray, Love party?
We just watch the movie and we get drunk. And well, I mean, you know where I'm at, but
Okay.
they get drunk. And then, I try to finagle everyone into a
To
trip.
get on their phones and book on Expedia that night before they leave.
No, just Venmo me. I'll book it.
Okay, because people will be like, I'll do it tomorrow morning and never book
No,
it.
yeah. I'm like, just Venmo me and
I know,
we'll book
right?
it.
So that is so funny. No, I don't know why Eat, Pray, Love has like come back up in the universe
I know
of
why.
media. Why?
Well, no, I'm going to let you cook.
Oh, okay. You're going to let me cook. Okay. Thank you, Gloverilla. So I don't know why it's been popping back up. But anyway, the movie came out in 2010. It was based on the book by Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the author. That was written in 2006. So the book was written in 2006. Huge success. New York Times bestseller. I think it sold like over 10 million copies. And she was on Oprah, was a part of Oprah's book club. Then they did the movie in 2010, which starred Julia Roberts.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And so, I don't know why this has come back up other than we're celebrating 15 years since the movie came out. But it's back in. If you go on TikTok, you'll see like hundreds of people TikToking about Eat, Pray, Love. Obviously, it had a lot of staying power because you and your friends who are from a completely different generation are having a movie. Having a movie night,
and they're
about
younger
it.
than me.
And they're younger than you.
They're Gen Zers.
This thing is like stayed relevant for so long, and thinking back on it, to me, it just sort of like signifies sort of a shift in things a little bit, and also it's sort of like one of those markers in history when things began to change a little bit. It was also 2010 was also around the time where social media started to really, really evolve. Facebook, I think Instagram came online, and people started to really get into documenting their travel and
Right.
posting and all of this. So it sort of like hit at that sweet point and just blew up. And so I wanted to just like delve a little bit into Eat, Pray, Love today and talk about like what it was all about, why people loved it, why people hated it, and sort of get into how it changed the way we travel.
Okay, yeah, I love
right.
that. Let's do it.
Let's talk about it. Why were you gonna say it's back in like rotation right now?
I don't think that Eat, Pray, Love ever left rotation. I think that I think you're 100% right, and I'm sure we'll talk about like travel and get into what we think here in a minute, but I think you're right. It did change a lot of things.
Yeah.
I also think though that like for me as a millennial, so I would have been in 2010, I would have been early high school.
Okay.
And so I remember the movie.
You remember the movie.
Right. Like I remember when it came out and I
Okay.
remember it being a thing. And frankly, I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I remember it being a moment. Mm-hmm. Maybe not a huge one, but just like, this movie came out. It's really popular.
It's a thing.
I think for, people younger than me, they didn't have that remembrance, or they don't remember it like that. They didn't know. Yeah, and so now that they're older, they're seeing this movie, and so it's like one of those things where the movie changed how we travel.
Yes.
But you never saw the movie.
Right. You don't know why we do what we do.
So when you go back and you see the movie,
you're like, oh, that makes sense.
Exactly. And you're like, whoa, life-changing. I didn't know.
This is why we're doing this.
That's what I think.
Yeah. So, it's interesting that you say that. So about the movie, I mean, I think most of us have seen it by now, but maybe not. Anyway, Julia Roberts, it sort of starts out with her deciding that she doesn't want to be married anymore. She's an author. I think she lives in New York, or maybe it was California. I can't remember exactly where she lived, if it was New York or LA.
I get this movie confused a lot with Wild, the Reese Witherspoon movie.
Really?
I told you to look it up.
You did. I never watched Wild.
Damn. Okay, well, in Wild, she also like wants a divorce and then goes, but instead of traveling like in Eat, Pray, Love, she goes to like some place in the wilderness to hike.
Okay.
And so I think in Wild she's from like LA. I don't know. I can't remember.
I think she might be from New York. But anyway.
I think she's from New York.
Yeah. She, the movie sort of opens up with her and her husband together doing sort of the mundane life of being married. He's a bit of a dreamer. He doesn't quite know what he wants to do. He finally settles on, getting his master's degree in teaching. And she's not pleased with this decision. And it sort of just like brings everything to the forefront about how she's unhappy with her relationship. And so, she tells him in a very abrupt manner that she wants a divorce or she doesn't want to be married anymore. It comes as a surprise to him. And so
it always is.
He's really upset. He doesn't want to divorce her. She ends up like giving him everything. And she pitches an idea to her editor. She's a writer. Pitches an idea to her editor to let her travel for a year and write about her experience and how she uses it to sort of like self-discover herself again and get over all this heartache and problems. And so she goes to Italy, she goes to India, and she goes to Bali.
Right. Eat, pray, love.
Eat in Italy, pray in India, and love apparently.
Which is wild to me because India is not like the safest place. So I have heard.
You do not like people going to India.
Not women on their own. I don't think that's like...
She went to an ashram. She went to a yogi place.
I'm just saying, I have heard it is not the safest of places. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But if that's true, to go in 2010 as a single woman is insane to me.
It was a little different.
But whatever.
But she went to the ashram and she goes to like find this specific guru.
Right.
I don't even think she ever met the guru.
I literally can't remember, and I haven't watched the movie in a minute. Because I'm watching it tomorrow.
You are watching it literally tomorrow. So she does all of that. And, along the way, she stops and does exactly what she says she's going to do. And so, she's in Italy and she's really her saddest in Italy because she's just left America. She's just left the sort of divorce attorney's office. And her husband is like so upset because he doesn't want to get the divorce. Actually, my bad. Before she leaves New York to go on this trip, she already meets another man. She starts a fling
with
a younger guy.
Right, but she ends up with Javier Bardem.
She does, and we're not there yet.
I know. I'm just making sure it's not him. Okay.
It's not Wild.
Okay,
it's Eat, Pray, Love.
Gotcha. Sorry.
And so she meets a younger guy. She starts dating him, and he sort of takes her over the edge of realizing I need to just shut all this shit down and go find myself, because he's like not that great either.
Yeah.
And is mean to her because he's literally just a rebound.
Yeah, right.
And so she from there goes to Italy and just like eats all this great food and, you know, meets this community of people and puts on like 10 pounds, and she decides that she doesn't care that she's putting on weight. It doesn't matter. We should just be able to, you know, be who we are. And
also in Italy, it doesn't matter because those men will go after anything.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. I'm not gone yet.
Enjoy Italy.
So, you know what? I don't know where I'm going with. I don't want to break down everything she does in all these places, but I am just, when I watched this movie recently, I realized that I'm watching it now as a 46-year-old versus when I watched it the first time when I was 30.
And how has your perception changed?
I mean, it's really changed a lot.
Okay. I guess, do you want to talk first, or should I tell you like my thoughts as like a probably 14, 15-year-old?
Let me just go through the little movie just a little bit more, and then I'm going to get to this. I may have said that too soon. So she does that in Italy. She goes to India. She's at this ashram where she's going through this whole like yogi process of, you know, self-enlightenment. She's meditating every day for like an hour and then like volunteering at the ashram. She meets other people there who are like her, who have sort of gone on this self-discovery trip. One of the people that she meets, who's like one of my favorite characters in the movie, I forget what his name is in the movie, but it's a man, and he's there, and he sort of, you know, gives her a hard time as soon as he meets her. He knows that she's like an American woman here doing this cliche thing of trying to find herself. And, you know, eventually they become friends, and he reveals that, you know, he is trying to forgive himself because he was an alcoholic that ruined his marriage, almost actually ran over his son with a car, and his family, you know, his wife divorces him. And so he is trying to forgive himself. And I think in India, what she does is works through the process of like forgiving herself for, you know, whatever she claims to have done to her husband and divorcing him, and just forgiving herself, period. Then she goes on to Bali, where she goes and where she's actually gone to Bali before. This is her second time. And she goes back and does sort of the love part where she meets the new guy. What's his name?
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem?
Bardem.
Yeah, she meets him. Is he French or Spanish?
I think he's Spanish.
Okay, he gives me French for some reason.
He gives me, like, at least when I was a kid, like touchy uncle vibes.
Really?
Yeah, which is crazy because now as an adult woman, I'm like, yeah, no, I see why he's attractive. Yeah. But as a kid, I was
That's weird.
I don't trust that guy.
That's really weird.
Off nothing.
He looks like what I would think the Beauty and the Beast would look like if it was like a fairly attractive real man.
Like an actual beast man.
Yes.
I know exactly what you mean.
I like that.
He looks like something from like Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes.
If it was hot.
He looks like a hot Pan's Labyrinth person.
Yeah,
thing.
Right. It makes sense.
With a weird French-Spanish vibe to him. But anyway, she meets him there, and everything is sort of buttoned up with a bow. They fall in love.
Right.
And then, I don't know, I don't think they go back to New York. I think they stay in Bali.
I think they do.
And eventually go back to New York and live happily ever after.
Right.
And so there were parts of this that remain the same for me. And then there were parts of it now that have changed because I'm 15 years removed. You know, I'm 15 years older. When I watched it the first time, I really, really liked it because I always have loved to travel. I don't know. I mean, I am one that travels solo.
Yes.
You know this about me.
Yes.
Okay. All my friends know this about me. And some of my friends also travel solo. I have actually a couple friends who, at least one, who travels solo more than I do. So I've always been fascinated with the idea of traveling solo. I did enjoy the fact that Elizabeth's character went to places that were not.
Is that her name in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She goes.
I was like, what?
I know. She goes to places that aren't technically touristy, like you say. Like, why is a single woman going to India? And so at that time, people, I don't know that people, or especially women, were taking trips like that. It was more, let's go to Jamaica, or
right. Get your groove back.
Get your groove back with Stella. Or, at the most, maybe somebody would go to Paris. A woman might go to Paris on her own, like Carrie Bradshaw, like.
Find out you have a tumor. Go to Switzerland.
Find
out you don't have a tumor.
Wait,
we've all seen the Queen Latifah movie.
Oh, that's right.
Don't tell me that you haven't seen The Last Holiday.
The Last Holiday, she did. She's dying on her deathbed. Yeah. She's going to Switzerland.
She went on her own to Switzerland
and do all the things she's ever wanted to do.
Pray, and love.
Right.
And she did all those things.
Exactly. So this was her. So we've had this trope before, but I think with Eat, Pray, Love, it was the first time
a white woman did. No, I'm kidding.
A rich white woman did it and had no care for like how she was going to pay for it. No. She went to places that we would not technically think about going for
it's
travel.
Not first on your list when you're thinking about solo type of more tourism travel.
It was not tourism travel. It was more like discovery, be one with the place.
Right.
And that also really fascinated me because I've always felt like when I went places, I wanted to see how the people that were from there lived instead of just being at a resort. What do you think about that? Is that you or no?
My thoughts on this are kind of complicated.
Okay.
And I think they're painted by the fact that I live and grew up in a tourist destination.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know. Okay. How'd that paint your outlook?
You didn't know?
I forgot you actually did. This is that. Yeah.
And so, I think it painted my outlook in that I never felt like, now granted, Americans or Canadians or Europeans visiting Florida is not going to be the same as like someone trying to get some cultural experience in India.
Yeah.
However, I never felt like people who came here would understand how locals live.
Really?
And so I think like my expectations for doing that somewhere else are very low. And I think just logistically, someone comes here for a week, they spend all their days at the beach or like at Publix or like they do a couple things. They want to go where the locals go, so they go to the Columbia.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Well, that's not good research because they wouldn't go to the Columbia because they would know that would be touristy.
But my point is like you don't have time to understand a place when you're only there for a week.
Right.
And so and most travel for me has been short like that. So I think when people say that to me of like, I want to go see how the the locals live and they're there for like, 3 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2 weeks. Yeah. Like anytime less than a month, really.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how you're going to truly do that because it takes a second to understand the rhythms of a place.
It does.
And like what is going on there.
Yeah.
So I guess, and I know that because people come here all the time. And I see them and I used to serve them and I used to be in those places where tourists would come and it's just two different things to me.
They couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I don't think you're going to be able to really live like a local, but there's a difference between going and staying at a gated resort and never leaving the property.
Sure.
And staying somewhere that's local owned, maybe going to the grocery store a couple times a week, cooking at your home, maybe going to where the locals hang out on a Friday night versus just going
but I don't want that.
You don't want that? You don't want...
As a local,
you don't want the people
would
coming?
Come here and ask me things, I felt like I was a fish in a bowl. And then when they're like, I want to go where the local... Even now, today, if someone asked me that, I would probably tell them the Columbia. Because I don't want you at my...
Gosh,
I don't want you...
So difficult.
I don't want you... I don't want to
Why
roll
can't
up...
they come to the... So wherever y'all go.
Don't even say that out loud. I can't believe I'm gonna bleep that out when we record so that nobody knows. Because the thing is that like once everybody knows, and this is the same for, you know, housing. Like once it becomes a tourist thing, like it becomes a tourist thing and you don't get it back. And that's the same for like when people decide to stay at Airbnbs, which like frankly I don't really agree with.
I'm
versus
over it
like
now.
Hotels or resorts.
Now.
It's like you're taking up, and I'm not like I didn't think this was gonna.
Now you're going on like an anti-Florida tourism rant.
No, I just didn't think I was gonna start like an appeal against Airbnb on this podcast, like politically. But I just feel like there's already, I mean, in a lot of places across the world, there's a housing issue.
Yes.
And so to fulfill your fantasy
of living
in a local spot for 4 days, take up an Airbnb that would otherwise be an apartment. Like that's I mean, like it's really selfish.
It's also not just the tourist fault. It's kind of the capitalist
no.
fault of buying this thing and only Airbnb-ing it.
Yeah. But my point is, you're for this like weird little fantasy that you have that is never going to be true.
Well, okay. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You're there for that's all I'm saying. Is
I do. Well, anyway, the point was that this book and this movie ushered in, I think, that style of travel
100%
more, especially for women, to say, I want to go to Italy, but I don't want to stay at the Hilton. I want to stay at the, you know, place in Tuscany that's like sort of a inn or a bed and breakfast owned by another woman or something. And so I enjoyed that element of it, and it made me think about travel that way. And so it also to me was empowering because it showed that you could do it. You know, before this movie came out, I got a fellowship to go to South Africa and do a story, and I went by myself and sort of stayed kind of locally like that. And
about to say in an Airbnb,
it was actually a bed and breakfast, but I was there for like almost a month, and I mean, my family was very scared.
Probably, yeah.
Yes, everybody,
especially South Africa.
Everybody was freaked out about it. It's been so long now. I'm trying to remember, but folks were kind of like, "You're really
what are you
like,
doing?
Do you need somebody to go with you?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna do it." And so it made me feel good because I'm like, you know what? This is not that far fetched. Like, we can do this. Women can go places by themselves. It can be dangerous.
100%.
We're not saying like get on the plane and tell everybody on the plane, I'm going to this place by myself, so everybody knows I'm traveling alone. Like, you don't do it like that. There's ways to do it. But I felt like this movie was empowering in that way. But I think what changed for me was, you know, this movie was about sort of using travel as a self-discovery tool for this woman who was going through like this huge change in her life. I mean, it was basically a midlife crisis is what it is. Kind of what it was.
Right.
If we want to call it that. I have different views on midlife crises now that I'm kind of midlife. I don't really feel like we should call it a midlife crisis, but we're going to call it that for lack of a better word now. And so while I thought it was this great thing back then, watching it now, I'm sort of like, this has some problems with it. And I was not alone, okay? I didn't realize that so many people hated this movie this book.
I didn't like this movie when I first watched it as a kid.
Why?
I think,
you thought your mom was going to leave you guys?
No.
And go travel.
Look, if there's a woman who's not going to Bali by herself, it's my mother. Love you. And also my mom hates Julia Roberts.
Oh my God.
So
why?
This movie and my mom were like not simpatico.
Why?
That I don't know. Gladys doesn't even
that's
know.
just her thing. She just don't like her. Okay.
I think when I was a kid, I didn't get it.
You were young.
Right. So at first I was like, I don't really get this. This seems dumb. Like even as a kid, I was like, I didn't understand. I was like, it seemed like she had everything
I know.
I know. And then she blows it up for no reason.
I know.
And then meets Javier Bardem. Right. Like, that was like a weird. I just didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I also didn't understand, like, I thought as a kid, I thought the eat, pray, love was like cheesy. I was
it is.
I went to Italy to eat. Like, bitch, eat anywhere. Like, what are you talking about? India has good food, too.
It is kind of cheesy.
So I thought all that when I watched it. As an adult, I don't think I have the, like, I wouldn't say it's, like, a super strong feeling of it. I can see why it resonates for people.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say I'm, like, a super hater, but I still feel a lot of the same things that I felt as a kid. Now, I more understand, like, I can understand more conceptually, like, where she was in life, why she needed to do, like, that I get more, for sure.
Yeah.
But I still think, like, at the end of the day, I'm still like, what the fuck?
Why did you have to do all that?
You did not have to do all this. Just get a divorce like a normal person.
And
like,
move, to
what
another
is
city.
This? Get your groove back and move on.
Right. I mean, I think, like, yeah, I feel like it was quite a bit that she did. And also, you know what? Regular people cannot do this.
And I think that's definitely, like, you gotta, so to put more in context, like, I live in a tourist destination.
You do, yeah.
And I did not travel as a child. Because we were not a traveling family.
Okay.
So, like, yeah, like, the whole thing.
You don't have the opportunity. Like,
the whole thing was just, like, perceptually not working.
Right. So it's like, I'm thinking back to it. I'm like watching this movie like a couple nights ago. First of all, it's long as hell. So
it is long as hell.
I didn't realize it was so long.
Bro.
The thing is, like, I felt like 3 hours.
No, she gets to love, or she gets to pray, and you're like, we got another one?
Exactly. Exactly. It was long. So it didn't feel long back then, though. And, I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, okay, when it came out, I was like 30, 31 years old. I had like a new baby. Like, everything she was doing, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how nice would that be? I mean, I wasn't ready to, like, not be married and leave everybody behind and go to Bali.
Including your child.
Right. My new baby.
Newborn baby.
Right. But it was just, like, very aspirational, I felt. And then now that I'm watching it, I'm like, ma'am, first of all, this is hella expensive. Okay.
For a year.
And also, what magazine is paying you to do this for a year?
It's based on, like, a true story, though, right?
It is. She actually did this.
Right.
But there are some variations in
surely.
the story that we'll get to. We'll get to in a little bit after we talk about this. We're going to talk about what really happened with her.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it felt very aspirational in 2010. And now that I'm looking at it in 2025, I'm like, this is, like, actually unrealistic. Now, while I think I do understand, like you said, her motivations in terms of reassessing her life and deciding this is not working and I'm going to be authentic about it and be honest and change course. Although I did find it kind of weird that, like, by the time she got to Italy, she was happy again.
That is also weird because you think it's going to be like a whole thing, like a journey.
Right.
But she's just, like, fine.
She was fine. By the time, not only did she divorced the man and he did not want to get the divorce. Okay.
Right,
and like, she found another boyfriend immediately after.
Which, like, I think, like, as a kid and even, like, still to this day, I'm very much like, I'm very harsh on people who kind of, like, do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't like it.
Well,
as, like, a character thing, it's just odd to me. Like, as you, for a person. Not to say, again, now I'm an adult, so I know things are more complicated. Marriages are complicated.
Yeah.
But, like, as a kid, I was like, you just broke up with your husband.
broke up with your husband.
What are we doing? Who is this woman?
No, I think that might actually be valid.
Right. And like I said, I think, as an adult, I might say, well, I didn't see the last 10 years of their marriage.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I can have that context. But again, as a child, I was like, yo, this one's crazy.
No, she was crazy. But I mean, I agree with you in that, yes, as you become an adult, you see things differently. But what still remained was that you got a divorce from somebody who didn't really want it, and then you went and got a young boyfriend who was also mean to you.
And then you're rewarded in the end from all these strange decisions that you've made
with
that
a great
a
love.
lot of people with Javier Bardem.
Right. So
Sexy Pan's Labyrinth. Exactly, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So like by the time she got to Italy, she broke up with the boyfriend. She got to Italy. She was happy again.
Right.
It happened
because of pasta and 10 pounds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even she was like even giving people life advice by that point. There was like another character in the movie it was a young girl, and she was worried about like eating too much and gaining weight. And Julia Roberts' character is like, it's worth it for the food. It's worth it for the experience. It's okay to gain the weight.
Which, like,
you just got dumped you just broke up with a younger man, and you're saying go ahead and gain 10 more pounds.
The most realistic part of this movie is the fact that somebody like that would think that they are qualified to give life advice.
Right.
Babe, also, I don't think I need advice from you.
She developed a family unit in Italy.
In Italy, yeah.
She had enough. First of all, you have been through some trauma, okay? You got divorced, then you got with a younger man that it didn't work out. He was actually an asshole to you. Then you left everything behind, and you were able to develop this new family that you're giving advice to and had Thanksgiving dinner with, and everything was great. And she was like, this is my new family, and she's laughing and smiling. And
this is what we call a psychotic break,
giving advice less than 6 months from divorce.
Because she's not healed yet, which I think she does in Italy, and I'm sorry, in India, right?
She heals in India.
I think.
I guess.
And I think that's also like the part that I never understood. People saying this like big profound journey, like I never saw that as a character. Like the journey's there. She goes to all these places.
The journey is there.
But the character, it was never sold for me as a viewer that she actually had these profound changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the destination, it really feels like we're traveling because we are traveling, but that we're not actually like getting anywhere with her as a person.
She does things along the way. Like she does do the meditation work. You know, she does a silence vow where she can't talk for a while.
Yeah.
And then she ends up, you know, breaking that off short because there's a group coming in and they want her to be a tour guide for the group. And so that doesn't last that long. But, you know, and then she has the run-in with the guy there whose family left him.
Yeah.
Right. Another part of the movie when she's in India that caught me and really made me think about like when this was made was she's outside sort of like journaling or writing, and an elephant comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, we really weren't on smartphones like that back then, because that would have been like she would have been reaching for her phone, you know?
You're right.
So I thought that was also interesting in that it is a set in a time, you know, that's way gone now. I mean, there were no phones really in this movie, and it was all about travel.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point when you talk about like how social media happens after this movie.
Shortly after.
Because it changes. I think this movie being an aspiration to a lot of people then feeds into like the travel inspo Instagram that you have now. Right. Where like you can't even go to like Tulum without it being an issue, because or like Japan is going insane now because
is Japan the one going insane?
Because tourists go over there and they act like assholes, and they're like graffitiing things, and they're like climbing on shrines and stuff,
trying to get pictures,
yeah, they're acting like insane people.
Yeah, travel has really kind of been bastardized a lot by social media, but it's like, I mean, it sucks because I get that people want to document where they've been. They want it to look cool online, but it does get in the way of the experience.
100%.
And I feel like this movie sort of was the last time that we were traveling, or that it showed travel in a way that was not about
like an old school,
exactly, about showing it off on social media, and it was more about like internal. Now,
ironic because she's still a writer. She's writing about it.
And then granted, you know, I'm not saying that people don't travel now for those reasons, but you know, if you go somewhere and you don't post about it, people kind of like don't believe you even went.
No, and you know what's so funny about this is that like I have been to more places than appear on my social media.
I have too.
And like
quite a bit more.
I forget how many, like, because, and then people be like, oh, really?
You went there?
And I'm thinking like, yeah, because I didn't come home and like I don't think I ever posted a picture from Costa Rica.
Right.
Or maybe I don't know, but I know I didn't post any from like my last trip to Paris or London. All these, because I that wasn't, I got good pictures for me because that's what I wanted, and I was there with people or by myself, and I wanted to, you know, have those memories. Yeah. But like I wasn't going to post it on Instagram.
I know.
And I'm not saying that as if like, look at me, I'm a bastion of so like cool. morality, but just more like I wasn't thinking about that.
I know.
You know, when I went there, I was really enjoying myself, and it's normally for me I have to like remind myself to take pictures.
I take a lot of pictures and I don't post. That's just how I am, period. I'm always taking pictures. I love to take pictures.
Yeah.
But I don't post maybe even a third of the pictures that I take. And so they're just for me personally.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's sort of like people don't think like that anymore. Maybe they do, but it doesn't feel like they do.
Or like for my mom.
Yeah,
I'll
text them in the family group.
Yeah, my mom likes to see what I'm up to.
Or I'll send it to my friends or something like that. But in that moment, I was reminded, like, oh yeah, this is from 2010.
I actually like have the biggest, like, I hate saying ick because I feel like that is also like,
what's the ick?
You don't know ick?
I know ick, but what is it?
I hate saying ick because I feel like that's also been bastardized.
Oh, yeah.
But my biggest pet peeve with people, and this isn't just men, it's men and women, is when they're the kind of person that's like, I've been to X many countries, as if it's like a collectible.
To say you've been to this many places.
Right. Like, I've been, like 30 under 30. I've been to 30 countries before I hit 30, or like,
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
That sounds very TikTok-ish.
Or like, just saying in general, like, what's your hobby? Traveling. Like, that.
We know you hate for people to say their hobby is travel.
I do.
I don't think that's bad to say as your hobby.
No, and what's funny is that people are like, you
travel more than a lot. You travel. You're one of my friends that travels the most.
No, I do travel a lot. But the thing is, it's because like, to me, how is that a hobby? You know what I mean?
Why is that not a hobby?
To me,
you okay, maybe it's not a hobby. Maybe it's something that you enjoy.
Yes, it is something I enjoy. There's a certain type of person who says it's a hobby where it's like, it's the same person that's like, I'm depressed if I don't have a trip. Like,
has happened.
The whole life being about travel to me is really odd. And I think it's because like, I do like traveling.
Yeah.
I, as a child, read a lot and did not get to travel. And as an adult, this is my chance to go to see these places that I've only read about.
Yeah.
Right? Very cliche. But like, that's why I do it. I don't do it because I'm like trying to fill my Instagram or like trying to like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm coming off really bad right now. I don't know how to describe.
It's okay.
I feel like when you meet that person, you know what I'm talking about. Because the way they talk about it is like, it's like, buddy, do you not have anything else about your personality except that you like need to go to Vegas in 3 days?
I mean, like, you know what?
Men and women, by the way.
It is men and women.
It's everybody.
It is. It's a new thing. Although I was about to say, I don't know that it's new because I think there must have been people like back in the 50s and 60s who were like, I get on the Greyhound every week.
I don't know,
and I go to St. Louis.
I think so.
You don't think people? You think this is a new thing?
I think because now you can show it off.
It's more of a personality.
It's more of a like a thing that it's like collect them all kind of, like it's like the same with like a luxury brand or like I don't know, other things that people collect because of the clout. Like,
you think it's a consumerism thing?
I 100% do, because I knew people who were, now they're in their like 70s, right? But when they were we were all younger.
Yes.
That's how time works. They traveled a lot, but it wasn't ever like a thing.
It wasn't like that was what they were waiting on all
like,
the time for
Olga
the next trip.
goes to Europe once a year, and that's just her.
That's what she does.
That's what she does.
Yeah, my stepmom's mother, like, she was probably one of the first women that I knew of that traveled a lot.
Right. Sure.
All like it. I mean, I admired that about her, that like she would go to
Alone?
Paris. No, I think she was going with like her sisters or something, or like friends and stuff. And she would take trips. But yeah, I don't think that was what she led with.
And that's what I'm saying. It was normally like, where are you going now? Like I have a friend.
You going, Sally? Oh, Sally goes somewhere every year. Where you going this year? We're going to Italy this year.
No, I have a friend who's a perfect example of this. She never posts it on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
You would never know. But if you're close with her, because this bitch is never in town.
She's always going somewhere.
And I'm like, where in the world are you now? And she's like, oh, I'm in Japan, or like, I'm in Vietnam or wherever. Yeah. And that's just like, because that is, and she's someone where like, I would say traveling is legitimately her hobby.
Okay.
She is very good at it. But like, she's doing it. It's just it's who she is. It's not something
she has to show off.
She's not leading with it. You would never know. You've met her.
Okay.
You would never know that unless we had that conversation.
Okay. But there's a difference between a person that travels as a hobby, I think, and a person that travels just to post. And
I don't
also
think
there's
they're
like a
thinking
third
that.
I also think there's a third space in the person that is almost doing escapism. Which is what I feel like, and that's what I feel like Eat, Pray, Love. And also I feel like Eat, Pray, Love is a verb now.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to eat, pray, love.
I need to eat, pray, love.
I need to eat, pray, love,
or a verb or a noun, one of them.
It's a thing.
It's a thing. So it's a noun. It's a eat, pray, love. And so I feel like that became almost a personality type. And I'm still trying to figure out if it's good or bad.
I think you actually hit the nail on the head better than obviously my meanderings did with the escapism.
Okay.
Because I think, to say that everyone is just doing it for posting, I think is reductive. There certainly are people doing that.
Right, but I don't think, first of all, if you're just doing it for posting, most of the time, I don't know that you really are going anywhere that good.
And we're going to offline, put a pin there, and then we're going to talk about something else.
You're just going places just to get pictures. You're going where the hashtags tell you to go.
Yeah. And so, keep that in mind for a personal conversation.
Okay.
But, totally. There are people who will post about it, but it's also like their escape. And I've had and so that's not exactly the same thing.
No.
They're still posting about it because it's still like part of their personality.
But it's literally as soon as they get done with the trip, they need another one.
And I think that's what I was like trying to find, like the person who always like, I'm depressed if I don't have something coming up.
Yeah.
Like that's that person.
But is that bad?
So I think it can be.
Really?
Because my thing is, and I was trying to get there, and again, I took way too long, is that I think what makes travel exciting and interesting is that it's different from where you live. Mm-hmm. And I think the best time is when you're excited to come back home, right? Like for me, I like to travel because I like to see places that are different than home.
Me too.
But every time I'm coming back, I'm like excited to be home.
You're glad to come back.
And don't get me wrong, I just told you we're probably going to plan a trip tomorrow. I like to do that. But at the same time, like I really like my home. Like I like home. I like my life and and where I live and my community. And so I think when someone is like that too much, it signals to me that maybe
they're unhappy in their regular life.
And the thing is, it kind of is like an Ouroboros, in that if you're unhappy where you are, and so you're always going somewhere else,
you never make where you are better.
Because you can't. I've had so many friends who have this problem because it's like they try to become part of their community or to make closer friends. And how do you do that when you're gone every weekend or you're gone for 2 weeks at a time? You're missing events here because you can't be here because you've already made travel plans.
Yeah.
So like it just feeds itself, and it makes it hard to get out of that loop.
It does. And I think, it takes some withdrawal to a certain degree where you have to sort of just like stay put and deal with your current circumstance. But you know what? I can't put a judgment on it, because if that's what's keeping people happy or keeping them going, who am I to say don't do it? But I do recognize that is a thing.
I think judge is not the right word. I guess concern is more it, right? Because it just feels like it. I do think it's another like consumerism thing. Like I do think regardless, you're out there collecting, you're out there like thinking of the next ticket you can buy, the next thing you can do, then pay for. Where like really, again, like how are you investing in your community? Right? This is like turning. I'm like
this is going into like localism. And
no, I'm like I didn't know this was gonna happen.
Community building,
but like no, but actually, because like what are you? To me, you can't be happy without a community.
That's debatable for some.
And it might be, but that's just my perspective.
Okay.
So if I think that you can't be happy with a community, now granted, sometimes that is far and wide and you make it work, right? Or sometimes it's the people near you. If it's the people near you and you're never cultivating that, then like...
How do you make that? Yeah, I mean, if, I agree with that. I think also, and this goes way deeper in around the mulberry bush, but the majority of people doing this are women. As I said, it's a lot. Most of solo travel is women, and it's not necessarily we're just talking about like solo travel, but we're talking about Eat, Pray, Love. She was a woman who solo traveled, so I'm framing it in that way.
Yeah,
and that if you're a woman, we all know now, women are doing things differently than they've done for the past 50 years. Okay.
Yeah.
We're not having children as much. If we do, they're later, not getting married. We're
buying
making
houses.
More money.
Yeah.
And we can do what we want. And so
do you think that women are traveling more now because they legitimately want to, or because it's a trend that they feel like they have to keep up with, just like all kinds of other things?
I don't think it's a trend. I think it's a third thing to do. I think it's a second thing to do. If you're not doing the traditional thing.
Yeah, sure.
Then there does come a time when you sort of need to fill some space.
Yes.
And I think travel can fill that space. I don't know that it's sustainable though, or fulfilling.
Well, yeah, that's what
right. And so you keep going and going and going.
Well, I think the difference for me is like, then it becomes a question of like, how often is it, right? Like if it's once or twice or three times a year you have a big trip,
right?
Versus like I'm gone every month.
Yeah.
Then that like now we're hitting like,
yeah. It's
Are
interesting.
You okay?
It's interesting, but you know what?
Have you gone to therapy?
One thing I'll say though that makes me a proponent of all of this is the fact that men literally lost their minds about this book and this movie.
Oh, because she leaves her husband.
And they still are. Like if you go on YouTube and look up Eat, Pray, Love controversy, you will find like these faceless videos of men talking about how horrible Elizabeth Gilbert is, the book and the movie, and how she influenced a generation of women to get divorced or not get married and just travel. And they are pissed off about it. Like this is, I think, has to be like red pill foundational. Like one of the building blocks of their movement was this movie because they really, really hate it. And that and just that fact makes me want to support it. Because I'm like, why are you so mad about this? But it really was because women were choosing something different. And so a lot of
I bet you there's at least one woman who did not want to divorce her husband but saw this movie and did it anyway? I bet you that there is. No, you know there's one. You know there's one that went there, wine drunk with her girls. She watched the movie.
And she was like, I'm
doing it tonight. She came home and she was like, Paul, we're done. And he was like, what? And then she went to Bali and did not meet Javier Bardem and then came back and tried to get Paul back.
Right. That's what I think. And couldn't.
Or did. I don't know. But he would be right to be upset at this movie.
I think if the movie made you do that, then
you're crazy.
You're crazy anyway. And something else was going to happen that you were going to do crazy.
That's fair.
So I'm not even going to go there
Good
with
point.
it. But a lot of men really, really hated this movie.
Why do you think men don't solo travel? Is that on the thing?
It's not.
Why do you think that it's mostly women? Because it is a strange thing to me that not that women do it, but that men don't do it. You know what I mean?
I know. I only can speak from anecdotal thing. You know what? Men don't plan travel that great.
That's it.
One of the things, like if you get married or whatever, like a man is happy that a woman plans things. So one of the things that men like about women that they don't know yet until they get it, and they're like, oh yeah, you are planning things for us to do, and they love it.
I know one couple that breaks his mold.
Oh really?
Because he is the plan. So she will just hop on a plane and like figure it out.
Right.
But he's the one that
plans it. Like here's the itinerary. Here's where we're gonna eat. Here's what we're gonna do. Or like
we should go here because the flights are cheaper. Like I found this hotel.
No, that's usually the woman.
So that's what I'm saying. It does exist. Yeah. Like they are out there.
Yeah, I think men are just like very routine creatures, and they just will like go to work, go to the gym, go home, go to work, go to the gym, go home. Until somebody's like, wait, on the third weekend in April, let's go to Charleston and do these 3 things. And then they're like, oh.
Also, my dad was a travel planner when he was young.
Really?
When he was young and single, yeah, because I have to hear about how like he traveled a lot before my mom, and then when they got together.
He couldn't go anywhere.
No, my mom wanted to go places, but they couldn't afford to.
Right, because they couldn't go to, okay.
So, because then they had kids and
stuff. So all his travels just ended.
Was before with like, friends and other women or whatever. I don't know what he was doing. But yeah, so my dad was pretty good at it.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's just my anecdotal stuff. I think men also, they aren't that great alone. Even when they travel, they go with their boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's fair.
I don't often hear a lot of men saying, I'm going to Bali.
To meet Javier Bardem.
Yeah, or I'm going like somewhere to like rock climb. I mean, some do.
Yeah, but mostly they're with their boys.
Mostly with their boys or with their women.
Yeah,
you know?
No, and I've met guys, out and about, as you do. And some of them who were actually not... I think it gave them the ick that I
travel alone.
Have traveled and might travel.
Some people don't like that.
Some people don't like it.
No, that is not gonna work for me. Like if you can't handle me traveling, going somewhere by myself, it's not gonna work.
It would be strange for you to be like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, I know at least 2 men who have said that they don't like their woman traveling by themselves.
Well, I don't like it. Is different than like you can't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
because like
nobody can say you can't do it. I mean, they can.
I won't be here when you get back.
They can say it, but that's crazy. Because what are you talking about? I can't do something.
No, but like my parents don't like when I travel alone.
I know, but what I'm saying is you're in a relationship, and I think their preference is that their person doesn't travel alone. If their person says I'm traveling alone, it would cause some problems. Like we would have
like that's kind of wild.
I know, but that exists.
Like what if I just want to go to the beach for a few
exactly they don't want that
by myself.
No, some men are like no.
I can get if you're like baby,
I don't really like that.
You can't go to Gaza right now, like or Ukraine. I'd be like fair enough. Yeah,
but right, like I just want to go to like.
But I just want to go to like
St.
the
Pete
other
Beach
side of the state. For a few
Not
days.
Even just down the road.
I want to go 20 minutes that way.
Some men don't like that.
Okay.
And I think some women don't want their men to travel by themselves.
I'm
not like that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I don't know. I think I would almost. Oh man, you can see the long pauses. I'm like,
why is that even a thought?
No, because I'm seeing what they're saying. I think in the right relationship, I wouldn't care.
You shouldn't.
But I don't think I've had that relationship.
Yeah, I'm like, who are we adults saying a person can't take a trip by themselves? Actually, that doesn't make any sense.
No, because I did date a guy who liked to go camping by himself. Yeah. And I didn't care.
Yeah. But if he said, I'm going to LA, I just want to go, what are you going to like, not? You're like, no, whatever. You can't go.
I would almost say like boys' trips are probably more dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so it's a matter of trust. Anyway, we're getting off. We're going down a different road. Like, it's about trust. But so I think like you should let your person go wherever they want to go. Yeah. That's just how I am.
That's fine.
But so, men hated this. And, I sort of was getting irritated and kind of like, what? Why are they so pissed off at her about this or whatever? Until, and I still am going to side with Eat, Pray, Love over these crazy red pill dudes. Don't make me side with these men.
Don't make me side with these men.
But the story wasn't as clear cut.
Of course it wasn't.
As the movie portrayed it to be.
You know how I know that?
How?
Because the movie was crazy.
What do you mean?
I have solo traveled by myself.
Okay.
I have never, like, the fun,
the way that it went so smoothly.
Right. No, that's not how life works. Okay?
She went out, by the way, and got completely wasted, blitzed.
In the movie, right?
Tequila shots. Yeah. In Bali.
Yeah. Isn't that when she, like...
That's when she runs Javier comes, yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is like...
And then he walks into her house the next day with a hangover remedy and she's knocked out on her bed.
The fact that, like, people ever saw this movie as, like, aspirational and attainable is insane to me because... And it shows me that you've never... I think a lot of people either haven't traveled or haven't traveled alone because you would
never do that.
This isn't happening.
That's like the number one thing you say. Like, don't worry, I'm not going to go out drinking alone. Like, I'm not going to, I don't even, if I'm traveling by myself, I mean, I might have one drink if I'm somewhere. Yeah. But taking shots of tequila, I'm not doing it.
No, I'll have like a glass of wine with dinner.
Exactly.
And then I'm not.
And then I'm going back to my room.
It's like with dinner. And then like maybe I'm doing like a tour or like something. Have a drink and then I'm going. No, going home. It's like dinner, wine.
Tour
or like museum or whatever it is that I'm there.
It's time to go back to the room.
And then I'm going to, the sun is down. I am back in the room.
I'm back in my room. And the doors are locked.
And my book is out.
Yes. And you can do whatever you want to do in your room by yourself. That's when the party starts, actually, for me.
If you want. Me, it's reading and thinking about what's everyone else doing?
I know. I mean, right. Like
what am I doing tomorrow?
I'm in the room. My laptop is out. I got a book. I got a journal. I might have TV on.
I'm writing. I'm chilling.
I'm doing all the stuff I want to do, but it's in the room behind the door.
That is locked.
Right.
No one knows where I'm staying.
Exactly.
Even when I talk to
Uber driver.
I will talk. Yeah, I'll talk to people if I'm out.
I will too.
And about like I was alone once in a city and I was at a Greek restaurant and I brought a book.
Yeah.
And I was just like eating and they were like very shocked by it. Like they were just like enamored that this
you
was
were by yourself.
It was like a super like little small mom and pop shop and that I was like sitting there just reading for the entire afternoon, like ordering stuff but just like sitting there and eating, like enamored, and it was very strange to the staff. They were like, they kept bringing me shit. Okay? They were like, do you want some bread? I'm like,
they wanted you to have a nice time.
No, and I did. I had a great time there, and I remembered them. But like, and it was good food. But my point is like, like that's my vibe. Like,
I mean, for me, I am talking to a few people, but I'm mostly being quiet. I'm definitely not letting you know.
I talk, but you're not getting details.
I don't give you a lot of information.
Why am I here? No. Where am I going?
You would never know that I was there alone either. No. You might see me alone, but I'm not letting on that I'm there alone.
And if you ask directly, I say, no, I'm waiting for someone.
Exactly.
Right. Or like, oh, I'm killing time while my husband's doing. Like, I'm never going to tell you.
I'm here by myself,
let alone pick up somebody. You know, like.
Or take 10 or 12 shots of tequila. She got wasted.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. So, I mean.
But then I think.
What?
Maybe this is just us.
I don't
women
feel
of
like
the world who know to be safe.
I have too many perils to do stuff like that. Like, I feel like I'm gonna end up in the Bali jail or something. I think there are people who do it.
Because I traveled with a friend once, and she got blitzed and like went home with someone in which, like, okay, look, no judgment on that.
Yeah.
But my point is,
in another country.
And I was like,
yeah, I'm not doing that.
I don't. Like, I speak the language, so I don't know if she felt more comfortable with that.
No, ma'am.
But I was like,
no, ma'am.
Baby, I don't know where you went.
No, ma'am. We don't even do that in the States.
I was like, I don't know where you are. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know if Ronaldo is his name. Like, I don't know anything.
We're not doing that.
Yeah, like, what am I supposed to do with this information?
Yeah, we're not doing that.
We have a flight tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's funny because, well, it's not funny, but like, didn't something just happen recently where somebody went missing in another country? They were on spring break.
There was a girl who got lost in the Dominican.
Yeah.
And they think that she drowned because the beach, the undercurrent was like really strong that day.
That wasn't about going off with somebody. But yeah, we don't do that. There's rules to this. And Elizabeth Gilbert, or whatever the hell her last name was in the movie, broke the rules. Okay. But she still ended up with the love in the movie. In actuality, a couple things about this story that you may or may not have known. She actually left her husband for the boyfriend.
No, of course. Yeah, makes sense.
She got with the boyfriend before she was actually divorced.
And they had to change in the movie or else you'd hate her.
Right. So that's one of the things that was not depicted actually in the movie. The movie was based on her life. But
right.
So her real life, she got with the younger boyfriend before she actually got divorced. So then she got with the younger man, and she did end up meeting someone when she was on the trip.
But she's still with the younger man.
While she was still with... No, she broke up with him. She broke up with him before she left New York.
And then she left.
Yeah.
And then she met someone.
She met someone, yeah. Okay. And they actually got divorced.
No shit, yeah.
Well, I'm just telling you.
You lose them how you get them, or whatever.
Well, she didn't do anything wrong. She was divorced by then, and then she met somebody else.
I'm just saying, it happens. I know people who met on vacation and it's worked out. But
you think if you meet someone on vacation that then you deserve to get divorced?
No, I did not say that. I'm just saying, when you meet on vacation, the odds of it working out are lower. I think.
Really?
I think so.
I've never heard of that. I've heard second marriages don't work out.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking it was more about that statistic.
No, I just think when you meet someone,
she met him on vacation,
and like you meet somewhere else, then you have to like reacquaint yourself with like
how you really are in the real world
every day, because you're not in vacation mode anymore. It's the same reason that you should take a trip with someone
to see how they are when you're on a trip. This is true. The other thing about this that happened was like, okay, so she goes on this trip to find herself and rediscover what it is that she's about and that she loves and doesn't love.
So that was true.
Finds this new person. Yeah,
that was
true.
She
met someone that she truly felt was right, but then she ended up divorcing them. So did the trip actually work for helping her find what she really wanted? I don't know. But she ended up going on to fall in love with a woman. What? I'm just telling you. I just didn't see that coming. You didn't know that? Rhea Elias. She actually is deceased. She actually has passed away now. But Elizabeth Gilbert ended up getting with, I think it was like her best friend.
You know, this all makes a lot more sense now.
Why? Why is it making sense? Because you saying she's a crazy person?
No, I'm saying like why her relationships with men didn't work out.
Because she was gay?
Apparently. Well, that would be a reason why you're
really. Well, then, I know, but like maybe she was bi.
Maybe that's she true. Was bi. That's true. I don't know.
So I think maybe you're right in that it explains a lot about her, in that she seemed to be on the quest for love and like not accepting what she had and continuing to feel like there was something else.
Well, it sounds like she made it work with her last partner.
The one that passed away?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. So
I
mean, that was
she found it eventually.
Yeah. Another thing that was that I learned about this story is that the guru that she was going to see in India, that she actually never met and was like unnamed, you never even know who it was. There was like a big controversy about this ashram that she was at.
I know which one you're talking about.
Oh, really?
And I was literally about to bring this up because I was going to say the thing with like like the thing with India and all this, like they call them seekers.
Okay. Because they go there for this stuff.
Because there's a lot of Westerners that will go to India
and spend all this money
and try, and then they're searching for something. They're seeking something. So there's like a whole, and there's I watched a documentary about like a guy, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same ashram, where there was like this big controversy.
Yeah, it was like financial sexual assault charges or accusations.
I think somebody died, but I could be wrong.
Oh really? I don't know. I didn't see that.
I don't know, maybe there's a different one. But yeah, in the documentary they talk about seekers, and that's what she is essentially, is someone
she's a
searching
seeker
for something.
Yeah.
But
and the
unable
guy there
to
was
find
a seeker
it.
too.
Yeah.
And also it makes sense to me why I don't think she ever met the guru, and they never said what his name was.
Yeah, makes sense that you wouldn't do that.
I'm like, I don't know how much you spend to go to one of these things, but if I go all the way there and I never meet the guru that I was coming to meet, I would be mad.
Yeah, that's like a whole nother weird thing too, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. The whole thing is weird.
The other thing, and probably the last thing I'll say about sort of like revelations about this whole book and movie and stuff, is that Elizabeth Gilbert, during that time where this came out, people loved it, and just like now, people did not like it, and they, for all the reasons that we've talked about. And she sort of stood on business. Another cliche. She stood her ground in that this was her authentic story, even though we know it's
kind of not. Yeah.
And like it was valid. She wanted to seek her truth, and she did it through travel, and she stood on it. But in 2023, she wrote another book. I don't know if you're familiar with this book, but it was about a group of Russians. Yeah, this is all random. She wrote a book. I forget what the name of it was. I think it was like Snow in the Forest. I'm sorry, guys. I can't remember the name of it. But it was about a group of Russians who wanted to break away from society, and they sort of made their own community in Siberia.
Okay.
And as the book was about to be released, she retracted the entire book, did not release it, because a bunch of Ukrainians started criticizing the fact that she wrote a book set in Russia.
Oh, because the war was on by
Right,
then.
this was in 2023. This is recently. And they were like, how could you write this book? And
I mean, I'm sure books are coming out based in Russia right now, right?
Right, but she canceled herself, basically.
Damn.
She was like, I will not release this book. I will not, I was tone deaf about writing this.
Sure.
But now, why is that okay? That's not like,
she can do it.
You can't even write a book about Russia. You can't set your book in Russia.
I'm not gonna talk about
the thing that I'm saying is that you go from like standing on business 100% about this controversial thing in 2010, different world then.
Different world.
So now, your book is about to come out.
Look, I don't think that her book would come out today.
Well, this was 2023.
No.
Oh, you don't think Eat, Pray, Love would come out today?
Yeah.
Why not?
Because I think that I think there's a way to look at Eat, Pray, Love, and if it's not been clear in my analysis of like people who travel and being a local, is that like it comes with like real, the gaze of Eat, Pray, Love, and I don't have the right language to say this, but like it's not from a cultural, like,
you think it's patronizing? You think it's like,
and it's like super like Westerner,
a white woman
goes to the East to find
and gazes
herself
at these people and uses their culture to work through her bullshit.
I didn't have the words, but you did.
I mean, those words were terrible, but that's basically what we're saying.
I think there's I think that would probably be the read on this now, which is also why I find all of this really funny sometimes, because I'm like that I don't think that book could come out today. I think,
well, for the stupidest reasons. It shouldn't come out because, ma'am, nobody has the money to be doing this, okay?
There's certainly that. Yeah, but I think also, I mean, there's a lot off about this movie. Like, this movie doesn't make sense.
It's so crazy that like when it came out, I loved it. And it really did influence me to some degree. And now that I look at it, I'm like, wait, this had a lot of problems. But I don't like the fact that it couldn't be written. I don't like the fact that it couldn't be written today.
I mean, do you agree with that? Maybe you don't.
I think you're right, but I actually don't like that.
Yeah, and so, I mean, there's a lot like that, right? That's like permeated the zeitgeist, but at a time prior to social media that like...
We didn't have these problems.
And yet, I say it's funny because like Eat, Pray, Love, as you said, creates like this whole thing where we have now in social media.
It's a whole universe.
It's like inspired so many people, but but I really don't think it would have come out now. So that's why I think it's all very like funny and ironic, because it's like it would... Everyone's changed their view of travel based on this movie that y'all would probably not watch
if it came out
today.
That is crazy.
It would be like an Emily in Paris version. You know what I mean?
It would be Emily in Paris, but
Eat, Pray, Love.
Eat, Pray, Love.
With a different Roberts.
Right. And you know what is also interesting is that like I don't know that it could come out with her being 40 something or what. I think she was probably like in her late 30s,
right?
She was in her 30s.
Approaching.
She was approaching 40. Like I don't think that would hit either. She'd have to be younger and probably not married. Like I don't know that we're getting these kind of stories. We need to be getting these kind of stories now.
Do we?
I think so. Like everything is not a... But then again, maybe not, because maybe that is not a conundrum because nobody's even getting married until they're 40 anyway. So they know how to pick better.
That and like, you know, you get into like travel again is like this complicated thing, right? Because the escapism, the Instagramming of it, also like we're in such like a financially tough situation for a lot of people right now that it feels like for some people, I'm sure it feels like completely impossible. For some people, maybe it's something that, you know, they can't stop doing, but maybe it's not.
They shouldn't be.
They should stop doing. Right. So like it's so complicated now. I don't do we need these stories? Do we need the story of the woman who leaves her husband to meet a younger man, to then leave him also, and then go meet Sexy Pan's Labyrinth in Bali? I don't know that we do.
But how will the Gen Alphas know how to do it?
They'll watch this movie.
Okay.
Because it'll be the only one to be able to come out.
Well, there is Under the Tuscan Sun also, which I actually really like.
That also has her too, right?
No, that's Diane Lane, which you have still not watched Under the Tuscan Sun.
I have not. Although I think my parents have the DVD.
Yeah.
So do you think, you know, I think the point of the,
No.
Can I ask?
Yes,
okay.
Go.
I think the point of this is that like, I think there was a time where travel wasn't meant to mean so much. It wasn't meant to be this great, profound, life-changing experience where you learn so much about yourself. I'm sure people did have that happen to them.
Yeah, of course.
I think that's inevitable when you travel to a degree, but I don't think it was supposed to be that. I think a lot of times it was, instead of like traveling, it was tourism.
It was tourism.
You went places to see things
that
to
you
learn
seen.
things, to go on these tours, and I almost kind of miss that a little bit, to be honest with you.
The 1950s version of travel.
And I think there's a lot that we do now that I like, sure, you know, that I'm not saying that I need to be like on a bus with like 40 other American, you know,
peering out the window and like getting out of the air conditioned bus
100%
to just stare at a bunch of people picking rice.
But okay, what?
Sorry, I went crazy.
That took a turn. I was like agreeing, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm agreeing to. But I do think that it's like, you know, it's okay in my purview if you just want to go to Paris, see the Eiffel Tower, get a fucking croissant, wear a beret, and have a good time. And I don't and go to a hotel. And just do that. Like, I feel like there's a judgment to that.
There is.
And I don't get it because, like, what's wrong about that? Like, my home exists so that people come here to help the economy.
Yeah.
That's where I live.
That is where you live.
So,
like,
I live too. As much as tourists annoy me, like, we
need them.
They're fine by me. You know, they're good. Do your thing. Go to the beach, whatever. Don't go to my restaurant that I'm going to bleep out, but do go to the Columbia.
Yeah.
You know, what's so wrong about that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think that more of that can and should be done.
Yeah.
And I think what I recognize about this movie 15 years later and just the whole theme about it is that what she was trying to accomplish, I think we can do without going on a year-long trip to do it.
I hope so.
That's what I took away from it. I mean, at the time, I thought the idea was great, and I still do love solo travel. I think it serves its purpose for, relaxation and resetting yourself mentally. I have done it.
Sure.
But I think it's important for women to realize that you can do that sort of self-work in your own community, in your own city, amongst your friends and family too.
And it might even be better in the sense
Possibly.
of like for me, I'll be honest. I have different trips for different reasons. I have trips where I go by myself to the beach, and that's because I just want to do that.
Yeah, need a moment.
I need a moment. Or like trips where I'm going to a specific place because I've always wanted to go there for whatever reason, and I want to go learn about it. And then there's trips where it's like, I'm just going to turn off and I want to be at the resort, and that's what, or just with people. And that's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And like, I have had moments where on trips where I've had things happen or I've come to realizations about myself by being either alone or even with people. But I've also learned a lot of things by myself by just like being here.
Yep.
And paying attention
in your life.
And I think that's the thing is like wherever you are, you have to just be willing to learn those things.
That's absolutely true. I think that was the last thing, is that you can't escape yourself.
Right.
You can't escape yourself. So like, no matter where you are, that's where you are. And so I think, probably a better way to look at what she was doing or to try to accomplish it is just to like figure out how to be okay no matter where you are. And sometimes that looks like going on a walk every day, or getting up early and watching the sun come up, or watching the sun go down, or whatever those practices are, but you can't escape yourself. And so we all probably can't afford to do it like she did it. And it may be, to your point, a little bit more beneficial to try to do it where you live.
And a little less selfish, I think, too. I think there's something about the way she did it that, to me, strikes me as selfish.
Really?
Yeah, maybe it's leaving all the men and stuff. Maybe it was that part of it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that
I
had
could
to
be
be
wrong.
done.
I don't know her, but maybe. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like maybe she needed to figure things out.
She knew what the deal was.
All right. Well,
yeah, that's Eat, Pray, Love.
All of this, if you were one of the friends that I'm going to try to finagle into coming on a trip with me tomorrow, means nothing. I hope you
None
listen.
of this means nothing. It's good to go on an Eat, Pray, Love trip.
I hope that you don't listen to this, and that if you got this far, you didn't hear a word I said. But if you're not one of those people, I hope you liked what you heard.
Yeah, we're still getting warmed up, working out the kinks.
It's because we're in a new location.
I know.
It's throwing me off.
It's a little awkward.
And we don't have our paper. It used to be a very Walter Cronkite.
I loved it.
We had our papers.
I actually preferred it.
We might just need to get a desk.
Yeah, because I need to be able to read things. I'm very much about like reading the information.
But yeah, let us know what you think about Eat, Pray, Love. If we got it completely wrong, or if you feel like we said something that was maybe more right than we think. Yeah. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and like the video. It really helps. And yeah, anything else?
That's it. We'll see you next time.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See ya.